Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Lee Davy. He's an inspirational author, creator, speaker, retreat host, breathwork specialist, and leader in global health. Lee has worked with clients one-on-one and with groups all over the world for the past 20 years. And he's the co-founder of Connected Community, co-steward of the United Alliance, and co-owner of Imiloa Institute. So welcome, and I'm super excited to spend some time getting to know what you do and just what's there for the world to find out about. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manon. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this discussion with you today, and seeing where it goes. We were just talking beforehand a bit the many possibilities of where we could take this, and I suspect we might end up all over the place. So
I mean, that's why I call this conversations, right?
Yeah.
Because literally we don't know. The only intention I have is that the people who are listening receive the message that they need, and that we come from complete integrity in what we share. So I think the first question I'd like to ask you is, what got you on this path? I'll call it a healing path, because the work you do helps in that process. So what's your story? What got you there?
Yeah, I feel like our oftentimes our greatest wounding, if you want to call it that, is our greatest gifting. And I don't know, I just, at a very young age, around like 13 years old, I that's the first time I remember really kind of like asking questions of like, what is this? Who am I? Why am I here? Why do I feel so alone, so alien? And that, I guess, those feelings of aloneness, of unworthiness, that began my personal journey, my personal search, and it's led me into the physical, the metaphysical, into the mind, into the medicine world, breath work, meditation, you name it. I've probably at least tried it, and some years ago, probably a good 10, 12 years ago, I was able to, oh wow, like this has been my journey, and it was so that I could put together the pieces of the puzzle of myself, of who I truly am, and what I'm truly capable of. And I'm still working on that puzzle, because I think it's an infinite game that we're playing, to remember who we truly are, the highest version of us, beyond all the illusion. So I think that journey continues, but from the state of consciousness that I'm at now compared to so long ago, it's like, oh, okay, like this has been a journey all along to gather these tools, these pieces, so that now I'm able to share them, for others, if they so choose, to want to go down that same kind of path of discovery, self-discovery. And if they don't, then I just continue to work on myself, and continue to expand into my infinite nature as quickly as possible. But it doesn't seem fast enough sometimes.
It's really interesting what you say, because I just was listening to a podcast yesterday that was talking about this free floating anxiety that people have, and mass formation. which is sort of a result of that initial, angst about the world, angst about, everything, and a bit of discontent and all of that. And I was thinking, what is it that changes? Some people will fixate on a solution, albeit as small as it is. It does take care of the emotional issues on the surface level, but others will go on this big life pursuit, going deeper, finding out more, exploring, the nature of our, of our consciousness. It's like, it's almost like there's a choice. There's always a choice, on some level, right? But because the same feelings could really, there's a fork on the road, right? And at what point do you decide that the road, because when you go through all the different therapies, different breath works, different understanding of reality, it's challenging. It's not like, oh, that was easy. It's like some of these realizations can be extremely emotionally taxing. And yet some people, that's what the truth is, what they're after. And other people, maybe that's what it is. The other people, it's more that it gives an emotional cushion of, okay, whew, I don't have to go down anymore figuring out what this underlying anxiety and, discomfort with myself, the world, whatever, is about. I don't know. Do you relate to what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like what was coming through was, and I don't know why. I think there's a misconception, for maybe people starting out of like, oh, this is going to be too painful, or it's I can't do this, or I can't revisit that, or and for me, it's just like, with each layer that comes up, with each level of awareness, or layer of healing, it's like there's just more freedom, and it doesn't get harder, it gets easier. Now, sometimes it goes a little bit deeper and might feel a little bit more painful, but it's for like a shorter space of time. And that or at least for me, I know that on the other side of it is more freedom, right? And more of who I truly am. So it's like, when those difficulties, or those wounds or traumas, or, I even look at sickness as a clearing, as a biological upgrade. And I just went through one, like on Sunday, went to bed, like had a great day, felt great the entire day on Sunday, went to bed, woke up the next day and couldn't move. Like literally felt like I'd been hit by a truck. And like the day went on, and that night was probably one of the most painful nights of my life. Like severe body aches and pains and headaches, and just like no real congestion in the lungs or anything. So I don't know if it was, the thing that everybody says is the thing, or not. I don't subscribe to it. I won't get a test ever, because they're designed to be false positives, which is going to perpetuate this. The more of us that get tested, and it's the thing, no matter if it's the thing or not, then it's just going to continue to keep this problem going. So I don't even go down that road, and I just look at it as a biological upgrade. I go through my own like meditative mindfulness, like focused mantras on how I'm already healed and healthy. And that was, I'd say, a day and a half to 2 days after the height of it. It's gone. So so for me, everything's a biological upgrade. It's there's another layer of, and there's always more layers, almost like the layers of an onion, of feeling, of awareness, of connection, of wholeness, of experiencing love, you know. So it's like, just to have that perspective and move through those layers, and realize that, oh, if I am going through something perceived difficult, or an obstacle, or less than optimal, it's just an opportunity,
Mm.
dressed up in a little bit of work clothes. And when I get through it, there's more freedom, there's more of who I truly am, you know, that divine aspect of who I truly am, you know, beyond the illusion, that I get to embody, that I get to bring to the table.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting when I hear you saying that. I'm very attached to, if I have attachments, it's to freedom. But it's freedom that is self-generated, right? It really is about, like, you know, people say, removing the layers or the healing. I mean, I've attracted all kinds of illnesses, I think, for the sake of experiencing what I'm talking about, and also being able to help people. But I even had stage 4 cancer, which is like, oh, you know, like that was a bit of a doozy, you know, like, wow, you know, how did I end up with that? But I think when I observe the process of going through that, it's not resisting it. It's really allowing and being in connection with literally every cell in your body. And the end result was a sense of freedom, not free of a disease, but internally freer as a person. Whereas I was thinking, those who fall into, this is that Belgium psychologist or psychiatrist, which is fascinating. I can't remember his name now, but you know, he said about a third of the people fall into this sort of the hypnosis. It's almost like a quick fix solution. It's the band-aid to the emotional unrest, so that an authority figure, which is typically how it happens, has the solution. And then it's like, now we don't have to take responsibility for our own journey in this world. And so it's really like safety versus freedom on some level, you know, and we can create both, right? Like, it's interesting to watch that. So talk about creating. What are you creating now? Like, you're in Tulum, right? Are you
Sorry.
hearing? I said, talk about creating. What are you creating right now? What's happening in your world? And you're Canadian?
I'm Canadian. Was born and raised just outside of Brockville, Ontario, about 45 minutes from Ottawa. I spent over a decade, almost 15 years in Toronto. I had a gym there for a number of years, and now I've been gone for the last almost 8 years, up until the thing that shut the world down. I was traveling, connecting to different communities, organizations, solutionaries, you know, and then over the last year, I've been in Tulum, where it seems to be a meeting grounds for some of the most brilliant minds in you know, all different areas, whether it's regeneration or crypto or health and consciousness, or, you know, you name it. Those people are here, and so for me, I've been focused on two areas, 3 areas specifically. So I still teach breathwork and offer like workshops and retreats around that. You know, meditation, movement, neuroscience, kind of everything that you know, I learned for myself. That's kind of what I offer now. The other aspect that I'm super passionate about is the freedom, the sovereignty aspect, and I've started to go through my own individual process of literally unplugging from the system, and you know, we're just very, very briefly and quickly, we are indoctrinated, literally coerced, pulled out of the private system as a living soul having dominion of and over the land under common law into the public corporate personhood, also known as the corporate fiction under contract or admiralty, legalese. It's not even law, it's legalese or color of law. And this whole system that we've been duped into playing is a jurisdiction that is doesn't hold a candle to the common law jurisdiction. But because we've been coerced into this lower jurisdiction, we have to play by those rules. And you know, as such, all the mandates, all the statutes, all this legalese stuff that is being passed and enforced on us right now, we have to abide by. But when we unplug from all of this and we rescind our birth certificate and we rescind our corporate ID and we come back under common law as natural living souls, we can travel freely, we can live freely, we can let go of taxation, we can own our lands outright. You know, there's all this stuff that that I'm going through this process individually, and then have an aim to co-create this like a doctrine of sovereignty. And what I've done with it is basically pulled in a lot of different resources from different organizations that I've come across that have some really good content, but maybe still from a perspective of, you know, so for example, there's one called the Kingdom of David. And it's this new king laying claim to the land and his people, and saying a lot of the right things, like it's for the people and it's about love and peace, and he's got a proclamation of peace and all this stuff. And yet I'm thinking, do we really need another king? Like, aren't we all kings and queens? And isn't the kingdom of the earth? So I've started to revise, you know, those documents and pull these other ones in from that perspective of, hey, if we're all sovereigns and if we're all, you know, kings and queens of the kingdom of the earth, what would that look like? And you know, really trying to weave in the, you know, the common law aspects to that. And you know, there's writs of habeas corpus and prohibitio and non-consent, and you know, all of these components that you know, I feel like and I'm by no means a lawyer, so I'm doing this from my perspective to then have, you know, the proper people with the proper understanding to fully look at this and refine it and redefine it, and then put it out to a number of different groups that I'm affiliated with, have everybody, you know, come to a consensus on it, really refine it again, and then ratify it, and you know, make this thing something that, you know, not only individuals but autonomous organizations can be a part of, and even, you know, for us to create new ecclesiastical nations.
Mhm.
Hi, I'm Dr. Manon Bolliger, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you for watching these podcasts. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Also, feel free to leave comments and like it. This way, more people get to find out about this work and about other choices for health. So I think it's really important that we all share this information. I have a free gift to you. It's a 7-sequence email that has tips for every day, and it's a little insight about how to live your life when it comes to health. And it's very much built on how I managed to overcome stage 4 cancer and what it took. So I would love you to have this, and thank you once again for listening to these podcasts.
So all of that, and then the kind of the last piece is really connecting with, you know, I I created an organization called the Unified Alliance, and I'm starting to work with another group called the Open World Alliance, who's doing, you know, some very similar things. And there are other groups, you know, you mentioned this from the top, that there are so many groups working on the same thing. So we're trying to figure out, okay, like, how can we work together, not overlap, still bring our piece of the puzzle, you know, to the table, and then do that with and for, you know, all the other solutions, all the other groups in every, you know, sector, every subsector of society, so that we have all the pieces, we are truly working together, we can clarify the picture of the puzzle, that, you know, we all have pieces too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm just starting this whole process myself. You sound like you've gotten much deeper already, but I'm amazed at exactly how it's a discussion for so many people. And, you know, in here in British Columbia, it's very active on that level, saying, oh, you know, we don't need that many people to actually say that, first of all, the Constitution isn't really a valid piece of paper, apparently. And, you know, I don't know how to verify that.
I've got verification.
Okay, yeah. So I've heard First Nations say that they can verify that it's not, that it was never signed, that as provinces, we are not part of the Federation, and that, you know, so there's so much like, oh, wow, you know, we're looking so small to think we have to overthrow what is. What we're really, if we create what is needed with all the people who are thinking the same, there's nothing to really overthrow. And, you know, we are, I believe we are the majority, at least in BC, it feels that way. And, you know, I don't like waking up. I feel like that's such a, us and them type of thing. You know, it's like you are where you're at. And when you notice that there's something else you can participate in that, you know, maybe makes more sense to your core values. I mean, I think I'm super excited for the future. And you know, I'm wondering whether the creative space to really do all that work is under the duress of the current situation in Canada.
Well, I mean, that's why I left. You know, I'm like, I can fight for free, and I don't actually want to use the word fight. I can stand for freedom and unification while still being free. I don't need to be locked down to stand for freedom. So I'm like, I'm gonna get out where I don't have to worry about, you know, all that stuff, and I can focus on, you know, like you said it earlier, like focus on the solution. I know the problem's there. I don't have to be inundated and confronted by it every single day.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because I think it does wear on you, you know, even if you're, you know, I'm a fairly independent person, but it's like, I had already deregistered, which was, so it's not, well, I was suspended because from my board, because I recommended some prevention for this thing that we can't talk about. And the prevention is like very basic stuff, you know, like vitamin D, something called Reboot, which is a way of getting your body to be optimized, because we all know that when we are healthy and we feel optimized, and whether it's breath work or whether it doesn't matter, when we're good, we are at the strongest to deal with anything that we're experiencing, you know. So I felt that as a profession, we would be the leaders of this. It was our moment to step in and say, you know, that's enough for fixing diseases. Let's prevent, and anyway, instead, I got a slap on the wrist. And then I wrote an article just recently that got published in the local paper. And it was labeled as anti-vaccine. And it wasn't at all anti-vaccine. It was about not judging people and realizing that such a thing as immunity comes different ways. And, you know, it was all backed up with true science. Anyway, and that was like the final straw. And so it's like, wow, you know, it really.
A Hippocratic oath. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
is that something that.
well, it's like when you're asked to go against it, it's not no longer ethical, right? So I couldn't, I mean, I can't, I'm a person of integrity. I cannot do something that isn't right, point final. And, you know, I'm not a troublemaker, but I'm like, I am not going to be trodden upon and, you know, keep a license at all costs. So I decided that's what got me looking into natural law. And it's like, I want to be deregulated, not just delicensed. I really want to be out of this system entirely. And what I noticed is that so many people looking for services, they didn't care if you're regulated or not regulated, or I mean, they want you to be educated in what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's everyone's seeing through. It's like it was so beautiful to notice, you know. And I was like, wow, here's another liberation after 30 years of doing one thing, you know, and realizing that there's so much more without the constraints. Yeah. You know, and it doesn't even mean that I will be practicing. That's not my, you know, it's not really where I'm at right now in my life, but it's like, we don't need all these institutions. We, you know, it became so clear to me anyway. So it's funny that when we started this, we were talking about that. It's like, yeah. So so I do want you to say a few things about breath work, because I find that really interesting as well, but I feel like we have so many things to talk about. I don't know where to go. Yeah, I'll leave it to you. What I'm thinking, breath work really helps people to stay connected to themselves and to, you know, to be more grounded. And I think a lot of what's happening here can make you very ungrounded. Do you have a recommendation or a type of breath work or how do you work that way? What do you tell people?
Yeah, I mean, so, first of all, to anybody, you know, viewing, if you don't understand the physiology of the breath, and actually you could come to one of my classes or, you know, even just go online. But, you know, if we were designed to breathe in our own carbon dioxide, we probably would, you know, we would have been doing that from birth. So, you know, just my dad always used to say, you know what they say about common sense? It's not so common. And, you know, and that's not to put anybody down who's, you know, wearing the masks or whatever, but it's like, because I know that the fear and the confusion is what has, you know, perpetrated this whole thing. You know, people are so confused and so fearful that, you know, they don't know what to think. And I'm not sure which comes first, the fear or the confusion, but the combination of the two, it's not a good mix. And so, you know, you're walking around with these things on and getting jabbed 2 and 3 and 4 and 10 times. And first of all, a question: where's it going to end if you don't stand up and stop it?
Mm.
And secondly, you know, just think about the way that we're designed. If we were designed to breathe in our own CO2, you know, we'd probably look quite a bit different than we do. And so you know, and that's why I love the breath, because just having an understanding that, you know, by lowering our CO2 levels and taking in deep, full, intentional breaths, how it actually liberates stored energy from the cells, and it lowers inflammation, and it you know, by practicing different holds, we're actually allowing the cells and the proteins to recycle and regenerate and repair, like, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, of what's happening physiologically when we're, when we're doing these breathing sessions. You mentioned the mind, and the conscious mind, the thinking mind shuts down, and you come into a peace and a more coherent brainwave state, and the body gets flooded with all kinds of beautiful virus fighting chemistry and feel good hormones and endorphins. And we really have the pharmacy, and I mean that's why we've lived as long as we have, because our body naturally fights off virus and disease. So, and breath, intentional breath, deep breathing is one of the most powerful tools that we have. And now we're being told to not do that. Like, common sense, people. We need to get back to common sense. And if it feels like it's not right, it's probably not. In terms of the method, I've actually created my own called 5D Breathwork. And so it's literally just playing with the breath, right? And varying the styles, whether it's in through the nose and out through the mouth, or in through the mouth, out through the nose, or he, ha, ho, ha. Like there's probably about 13 different variations that I'll use and incorporate. But the commonality is the cyclical nature of the breath, and that in and of itself is lowering our carbon dioxide levels and increasing our oxygen saturation. If we did nothing else, that's creating an alkaline, oxygen-rich environment.
Yeah.
Which disease can't live in that type of environment. It just can't.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fundamental. And I think, like I'm just going to put words in your mouth, but I think they're the same words. To look after ourselves is actually quite simple. We are already so perfectly made, and we complicate things by, false narratives, false science, like, paid science and all kinds of things. It's, we've created a complicated world. And it's not what you need to thrive or be happy or feel free, so. No,
not at all. Not at all.
Anyway.
And I mean, and I mean, you come from that system, and I don't really feel bad about saying this, but I mean, yes, if somebody's like super, super sick or has a broken leg or, something like that, Western medicine, amazing, love it, thank you. But otherwise, it's not health, it's sickness. It's
disease management. That's
disease,
what.
Yeah, I love that. It's disease management, right? And so, what would happen if every one of you got off your ass and ate better and drank structured water and changed your focus and changed your mindset and turned off the TV and got up and did some movement, and like, it's all here for us, but we can't be passive about it, right? And even going through my process the other night and moving beyond that physiological upgrade, it's like I was telling friends, like, that are still had started kind of before me, and we're still a day or two after me, and going through the healing process, and I'm like, what are you doing when you're in it? They're like, oh, like, their mind, they're passive, they're bystanders to whatever, let's just say, for argument's sake, it was a virus, right? And I'm gonna say it was the common cold, if it was a virus, because that somehow has disappeared. But so the common cold as a virus, if I'm passive to it, it's gonna run its course, and maybe it takes a week. Whereas if I'm not passive and I'm actually employing the constructs of the mind to focus on already being healed and already feeling better and already, and I focus on the energy centers, and like there's all kinds of stuff that I focus on continuously that takes my focus away from the pain, but B is put it on the solution.
Mhm.
And as a result, instead of it taking a week, it takes a day or 2 days,
Mhm.
right? So, and it's kind of like that with prevention. It's like you can just be a bystander in your life and just have the days pass, and then sickness is going to come, and you're probably going to die early,
Mm.
and have to resort to the sickness. What do you call it? The
Disease management.
disease management, right? System. Or you can not be passive. You can employ the mind, make the tools work for you, go into prevention, feel so much better in the process, take control of your life and your health, and not have to rely on that preventative or that
Management.
management system.
It's really, if you think of it, it's managing, right? That's the thing. It's we're not even allowed to use the word cure. If you think about it, like it's a funny thing, right? Anyway, but look, our time is up, and I'd rather leave everyone on the last thing you said. So I just wanted to thank you for participating in this conversation.
Thank you so much. It was my honor. I really appreciate it, and I really really want to commend you for standing in integrity and not letting them push you around and just keep you boxed into something that doesn't align with your true values, and if more of that system were in alignment with you and stood for what you stood for, this thing would be over and will be over like that. So
well, it's coming.
it is coming.
There is light. All right, thank you so much.
Honor. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.